First thing you want to do is slide some of this cord out. How we secure the clasp onto the cord is with something called a crimp. What I'm going to be using today is little cylinder beads. Crimps also come in a round bead form, but you don't want to use the crimping tool with the round bead. With the crimping tool, you just want to work with these cylinder beads. So the first thing you're going to do on your cord is slide that crimp on. The next thing you want to do is take one side of your clasp and slide it on like so. Then, with the end, go back around through just the crimp so that it's going to look like this. Tighten up that crimp. You don't want to go too tight because if you put too much stress on that connection, it can break. So you want something just about like this. Now, grab your crimping tool. Remember when I said it was really good to take a close look? This is when it comes in handy. First, you want to put your crimp in the back kidney bean shape. Slide it right in, make sure it fits comfortably, and now you're just going to squeeze. Now, the crimp is taken on that kidney bean shape. Next thing you want to do is turn the crimp up on its side and put it in the front hole. Once you've got it in there good, go ahead and close down again. Now the kidney bean shape has closed in on itself and it's completely secure. And now you can start stringing. Give yourself enough room and then cut with your cutters. Now, what to do with this excess cord right here? Two things. You could either cut it off as close to the crimp as possible, or you could hide it inside your beads. So when you put that first bead on, I'm just going to slide right over both cords like this. Then string on the rest of your beads. Now you're ready to finish off your bracelet. First thing you're going to do is put a crimp on the other end. Next, same way you did with the last part, you're going to slide the other half of the clasp on next and go back through just the crimp. Now, how do you tighten up? The best way to do this is to hold it up so the beads fall down, slide that crimp down as close to the bead as possible, and what I like to do is hold on to the crimp and pull that excess cord through. Now it's tightened up pretty well. I'm going to do the same crimping process again. So I'm going to put it back in the kidney bean, squeeze tight, turn it up on its side, put it in the front, squeeze tight, and I'm done. What I'm going to do here with this end piece is I'm going to cut it off, and I'm just going to see if I can hide it right inside that bead, which it did, and now you have a bracelet. Now that you've learned how to crimp, let's say you don't want to make a single strand bracelet or a single strand necklace. You want to make double, triple, whatever you want. The way to do that is the same exact technique that we've already learned, except you're going to get a special clasp. This here is a 3-strand clasp. It's got 3 separate holes, and all you're going to have to do is each strand is going to go to their own separate hole. You're going to use 3 different crimps, crimp 3 times on each side. That's all you need to do. This is a bead board right here. It can be really helpful for you when first starting out. You've got 3 grooves right here, so you can lie your beads right inside. You can do your designing right on here as well. The numbers around here are inches. The numbers on the inside are centimeters. It's also very helpful to have these grooves if you're doing multi-strand necklaces. So each one goes in each of these grooves, and then once you get to the top, you should make sure they all line up all the way across. That way, when you connect them all together at the end with your clasp, it'll hang evenly and perfectly. Now we're going to do memory wire. All together, this is it. It looks like a slinky. But when you cut it off into little pieces, it can create a really nice bracelet. Comes in 3 different sizes: ring, necklace, and bracelet. The thickness is going to be constant. It's not really going to change. The reason it's called memory wire is because it keeps this really nice circular shape. The only way you can get it to move is if you try really hard with your pliers. When cutting memory wire, you don't want to use your cutters. It's going to do nothing but ruin your cutters. So instead, you're going to pick the length you want, you're going to grab with your flat nose pliers, and you're going to bend back and forth. Usually at the 3rd or 4th time, it snaps right off. There are 2 ways to end off memory wire. One is a simple eye loop like we learned before. The other is what's called an end cap. An end cap is just a regular silver or other material bead, and it just has a hole drilled only halfway through. So the very tip of the wire goes right into the end cap. The connection you're going to use to make sure the 2 stick together is 2-part epoxy. Now we're going to use the 2-part epoxy because it's the best for a metal-to-metal connection, and if it doesn't fit right on, if there's a little room to move around, it's going to fill up that hole really nicely and it's going to stay secure. The difference between the 2 looks like this. To use the epoxy, you're going to take some sort of shiny surface, usually a magazine, something plastic. It's going to work really well. If you're just using regular paper, sometimes it can seep through. It's just going to mess up the table that you're working with. So I have a plastic surface right here, and I'm going to squeeze my epoxy right on. You want to make sure you get equal parts of both the hardener and the resin. Now, to mix it up, you can use just about anything. Usually, the only thing I have lying around is a piece of wire, so that's what I'm going to use. Make sure you mix it up really well. It usually sets in about 5 minutes, so make sure that you have everything ready to go, but don't scramble because it's not fast like super glue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the very tip of the memory wire and get a good glob of glue on. You don't want to use too much, but it's better to use more than less. Finding the hold of that end cap, I'm going to put it on, and I'm going to hold like this for about a minute or 2 to make sure the glue is set just a little bit, and then I'm going to put it aside and let it dry. Now that it's completely dry, you can start stringing on your beads. Start at this end, go all the way around, make sure everything gets put on there securely, and once you're done, you're going to do the same process on the other end. Now, let's say you want to do a loop. You're going to need your round nose pliers. Instead of making that 90-degree angle that we made at first, it's going to be really hard to do that. So we're just going to make a loop at one end. You're going to grab partway down your plier and really tightly loop up and over. This is really difficult. It's not easy like regular wire. It's not even like hard wire. It's much harder than that. Go all the way around, and there you have your loop. With memory wire, there's a lot of different things you can do. It's not just a necklace or a bracelet, anything that's going to, look the same shape. It's going to keep that circular shape. But what you can do is play around with it, and I really recommend that you do. I made these earrings just by using flat nose pliers, really careful to make that turn at the top, because if I turn too much, the memory wire can cut. And then for the bottom, all I used is a regular bead and a little bit of epoxy to get it to stay on, just like I did with the end cap. Now, it's stainless steel wire, so because I have no problem putting things through my ear, I can wear them. But if you can only wear gold, I recommend that you don't put memory wire through your ear.